going back to the permission. Okay. So over here, initially, I told you that for the ledger permission part, I have two types of category, which one was user-wise permission. That means I will create a permission role and I'll assign it to my user, which I just now showed you. And the other option is segment-wise permission. Now, what does this mean? Segment-wise permission, the moment I click over here, segment-wise permission, one option I will be viewing in my miscellaneous, which is ledger segment. So the moment I click over here, so I'll just show you how does it work. I'll just disable it once again, just to show you if the option was initially available or not. Going back to the miscellaneous, it's not available in my left panel. Now, if I come back my accounts tab, and I will switch from user-wise permission to segment-wise permission and switch to the miscellaneous tab, I am getting an option of ledger segment. Let's check if I've already assigned any over here or not. So in my ledger group, one option is available, which says this if for Bhawanipur segment, which is a segment in this company. For Bhawanipur segment, permission type deny sundry debtors. The way I did at the time of creation of ledger master, over here I'm defining that any of the ledgers or any of the entries which is being defined under the group of sundry debtors, nobody should be allowed to create any type of transactions. Nobody should be allowed to create any type of view any type of entries via my ledger report for my Bhawanipur segment. Now, once I define this in the configuration page in the settings page, this applies to not only the selected user for which I am showing it to you, it applies to the admin as well. That means this way, this will be allowed, this will be blocked for each and every user which is available under this company. So let's check. First, we'll go back to the Vaishava user and click over here. So the computer domain was created under the segment as under the course ledger group of sundry debtors. So I'll just quickly show it to you. Masters, accounts, ledger, and edit. So this is created under sundry debtors. So as per what I have defined, it should not allow me to view for Bhawanipur segment. Since I have assigned the role, so I just need to log out and log in once again. And I am in Bhawanipur segment itself. So I just search the ledger of computer domain in my ledger report. Was already selected since I used it previously. I'm not getting that option in the search bar in my ledger report for Bhawanipur segment. But if I switch it to the other segment, am I allowed to view that? Let's check. Yes, I am. Is it the same for the admin user? Let's quickly check that. I am back to the admin user. I'll go to reports, accounts, since I'm in all segment currently. So let's check how does it works. Computer domain. Yes, it's reflecting. Now I will quickly switch to the Bhawanipur segment. I should not be allowed. I am not. That means this segment-wise permission will clearly get applicable for all the users, all the existing users under this company. So this is all about the permission role of your user-wise or user-wise and your segment-wise permission over here. So I am just supposed to disable this. I will just quickly switch it to the user-wise permission. And then comes the voucher type permission. Let's check what does it says. It says this feature enables the user to restrict, allow the use of a particular voucher type, either user-wise or segment-wise. Okay, user-wise and segment-wise is again coming up into the scenario. So I will enable this. And let's check if I'm getting an extra field in my user master or not. Mission. And yes, I am getting a voucher type permission role as an extra field in my user master. So let's check what master has been defined for our voucher type permission. So I will have to refresh the screen since the param got enabled right now. Click on masters, accounts, and voucher type permission. So I've already created one earlier. So I'll show it to you. How does it works? So over here, as per my permission role, I have created the voucher type manage again as deny all. I'm having two drop downs coming up over here, but over here I have selected as deny all, and except for below voucher type as journal. So let's reassign this voucher type permission to my user master. Edit. Go to permission. Edit. And the voucher type selection will be having the test vtype option. So I will select this and click on save. Okay. So I will come back to the Varshavai user. This time I'll have to log out once and I will log in again. So I'll go to transactions, accounts, voucher. So this time I am having only and only one drop down of journal. I am not having any other voucher type permission. That means this user Varshavai will not be able to create any entry other than the voucher type of journal. So is it applicable for all the segments? Let's quickly check it. Yes, it is applicable for the entire company for this user. But when it comes to the other user who is not having this voucher type permission, the user will be able to create the transaction in any of the voucher types. So this is user specific permission role, which is being defined over here. I will quickly release this as permission. So since it's a non-mandatory field, I'll just release the feature option over here, click on save and exit. So if I come back to the user, click on search, I'm again having the access to all the other users because I have removed that user access from my user master permission. So coming up to the next option, we have the option of temporary delete voucher. Again, this option is user-based permission. Now, the moment you click over here, you need to define the who or which all users will be having the access to cancel or delete the temporary delete the transaction. So we have three drop downs coming up over here. So once you click on the temporary delete voucher, bulk cancel of vouchers, you'll be having the permission role. So over here, as per your requirement, you will be have to select the voucher types and for which voucher types and which user should be allowed to cancel the voucher, which user should be allowed to temporarily delete the voucher, which user should be allowed to bulk cancel the voucher. So based on these roles, we can restrict the permissions over here itself. Coming up to the last option, which is over here, we have an option of lock voucher date. Now, how does this work? So this is usually used at the time once the audit purpose is completely over, or you do not want any user in this company to edit or book the entries in your previous date or the defined date. For example, over here, I have defined it as on 30 entry log voucher date is 31/3/2022. That nobody would be allowed, even if I switch the financial year and try to create the entry or edit the transaction entries before 31/3/2022, I will not be allowed. So let's check if I'm being allowed. And it is applicable for each and every one, I mean, including the admin. And this is being done via the OTP part. For example, if I am clicking on never, I'll have to switch it to, the OTP will be sent. So unless and until I click on OTP, I will not be allowed to always or never part over here. So any questions till now, please go ahead. Then I will show you one last options in the books of accounts. Okay. So moving ahead, I will come up to the last options for the permission control, which is available in our financial module, which is your voucher type permission. Now, how does this work? So over here, I don't want to give this user the permission voucher type wise, like the one which we created from the masters. So over here, I'll remove all the options for this user. I'm removing the ledger permission for, say, suppose I'm removing the ledger group permissions, although you can use the feature in a combined format or as for your requirement in the books. I am just disabling all these options for this user and click on save. And now I am coming to the masters, accounts, voucher, and edit. So I'm selecting the option of receipt. So for the user, say suppose Varsha Bai, I want her to give all types of access, but just for the receipt voucher type, I want to have a certain control over the access of the user. Say, for example, if I'm giving the username as Varsha Bai and for the segment as Bhavanipur, I want to give the limited days of, say, suppose 5 of backdated entry. Now, this is for entry part and this is for edit part. So edit, the edit would be not allowed at all. The entry part would be allowed for only and only receipt voucher types for the segment as Bhavanipur. Just I'll click on save. My data has got saved. I'll click on save over here. So I'm currently in my Bhavanipur segment. I'll click on transactions, accounts, and voucher. And I am trying to book the entry as on 25th of October 2022. Since it is a journal voucher type, I should be allowed. Yes, I am allowed. So I will switch the voucher type as receipt. The same thing, if I am refreshing my screen, I will click on receipt. I will click the data as 25th of October 2022. Immediately the screen gives me an alert. So even if I wouldn't have refreshed the screen, I would have passed all the transactions as my debit, credit, all details has been updated, narration has been updated. The moment I would click on submit, immediately I would get an option of restriction that for this voucher type, I am only and only allowed for backdated entry as 5 days. So what about the edit part? Let's check for this option is applicable only for the Bhavanipur segment. Let's check for the Havra segment. Am I allowed for the receipt voucher type or not? Switching it to the other segment, and I am trying to book the entry on 25th of October 2022. This time it didn't restrict me, because the voucher type permission was only and only defined for that particular segment. So this way we can give multiple user access over there and restrict the control voucher type wise over here. So only for one voucher type, for having an exception over here, I can do it. Now over here, I was not at all allowed to edit any of the receipt voucher type. So only for this segment. So let's check. Am I being restricted over here or not? So I am going back for Bhavanipur segment. I will go to reports, accounts, daily reports, and debit. So over here, just for my ease, I will select the voucher type as receipt. I will select the date range as 110. Let's see if I have any transactions. Yes, I do have. So if I click over here, I will see, suppose if I just make the changes at 2/11/2022 and click on save. Okay, I'm getting a warning that I'm not allowed to update or any entries because I'm being blocked. I'm not at all allowed for any of the edit. So this way, the permission or the roles which are being defined in our RealBooks financial model, we can use all of them so that we can have a control in the books of accounts and which user will be updating which type of entry, what restrictions will be having there, and all sorts of data can be captured accordingly. Okay, here's a question which is coming up in my chat box, which says, since there are so many options to add backdate, entry, edit permission, which permission overrides which one? Okay, so the one which I showed it to you just now, which is my voucher type, just for the receipt voucher type, I updated as not allowed. But in my user master, if I'm giving the backdated edit permission for 30 days or unlimited days, then the permission which is defined in my voucher type master will overlap the one which is defined in my user master. That means if the user is having the backdated edit option as unlimited in my user master, and as per my voucher type master of receipt, I am not at all allowed to edit any of the receipt voucher. I will not be allowed to edit any of the receipt voucher type in the system. So depending upon the permutation and combinations, the hierarchy will always overlap itself. So in this case, my voucher type permission will be the hierarchy part, and then comes this part. And similarly, if my TXing configuration, the one which I initially showed you, that my segment master is not having the access of creating or editing transactions in that particular segment, then even if I'm having the unlimited access for creating or editing the entries for that segment, I will not be allowed to edit or create the entries in that segment. So the next option which is coming up over here is that, is there any option to lock my data or for a period or quarter? Yes, you do have the option. As I showed it to you over here, going up to my settings page, there is an option of lock voucher date entirely. If I click on allow always, then I will be asked to update the entry locking for a quarter or till a specific certain period, like till 31st 2022. Nobody would be allowed to before 31st March 2022. No user in the books of accounts would be allowed to edit, delete, or update any kind of transactions over there. So it's completely locked for those users. Nobody would be allowed to update. So once the audit is over or once the entries are finalized, you can just simply lock it over here. You will be asked for an OTP, and the OTP will only and only be shared via mail to that admin user, and that admin user can have the access to log the transactions over here. Any other questions from anyone?
Yeah, Varsha, one question.
Yeah.
Like in user master, I have for any user, I have made backdate edit entry edit as 0 days.
Okay.
So what are the other things that needs to be checked so that I can be ensured there will be
So if the user is having the backdate entries at 0 days, that means the user will only be, for example, I'm talking about the entry part one. The same applies for the edit part. For example, if the user is having the number of days as 0, that means only and only on present date the transaction can be done. He or she cannot update the, for example, today is 4th of November. The user will be allowed to book the entry only and only on 4th of November, and he or she will not be allowed to book any kind of transactions on 3rd November or before that. So the number of days 0 means that.
Okay, so my objective is to restrict backdated edit entry for a particular user. So I have made backdate edit in the user master as 0 days. Okay. And is there anything else that which I need to ensure that the user is disallowed?
Not at all. Not at all. And the moment you click as 0 days, automatically it gets applied that the user will not be able to edit any of the transactions before 4th of November.
I need not do any action in the user permission or anything like that.
No, I mean, in the use, you are defining this part in the user permission only, right? So I'll just quickly share my screen once. So what we need to do over here is in my user edit, I'm clicking as Varshabai as edit part. I'll go to permissions. You don't want to give the edit backdate edit access as 0 days.
Okay, not allowed or 0. Okay.
Yeah, not allowed or 0 days. I mean, for the edit part, you can just click on not allowed. Not allowed will completely restrict for the present day also. For example, if the user wrongly creates any kind of transactions, books the wrong amount, then he or she will not be allowed to edit the transaction also, even on the present day. So not allowed means that. For example, over here, if I'm limiting it as for 0 days and I'm updating it as backdate entry and it both as 0 days, and click on save. And I will come back to the user. Go to the transactions accounts as voucher. And I will try to update it as 3rd of November. Sorry, I need to log out once. So since my voucher type permission is already having, so I'll just remove it because this will always overlap the user master. So I'll just delete it. To the user. The moment I clicked on 3rd of November, I'm not allowed. But am I allowed to book the entries on 4th of November? Yes. Let's check for the edit part as well. The same should go for the edit part. Reports, accounts, daily reports, and daybook. I'll just edit it. And I will try to change the backdate edit. I mean, I'll not be allowed. For example, if I am, say, suppose I'll go to all segments just to collect any other data for before date. So I have so many number of entries. For example, I am picking up this entry on 27th of October. Okay, the permission is not allowed. Role over here is that the user will not be allowed to edit any of the entries other than the present date part, be it for your edit part or your for entry part. So it applies to both of them. Okay, so I am having a question coming up in the chat box which says, can I restrict outside premises access? Yes, you can restrict that as in from my user master itself. So I will come back to the user master from the admin access. I will click the edit. So I have an option of IP address coming up over here. What does that mean? If I am trying to restrict my user via the IP address, I can just simply update the IP address in my user master. Then that particular user can only and only access the books of accounts or in my financial model via that particular system only. Other than that, if it is if the user tries to access it via other system or other IP address which is not being recorded over here, the user will not be allowed to even log in the system. So this way we can just restrict it in our outer premises. Hope that answers your question. Okay, I hope the whatever we discussed today, it helps you out to better organize our user master in the financial model to have a better control in the system to record and update the transactions accordingly. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining and interacting with the questions over here. Thank you. Thank you so much.